welcome to the second series of Around the World in 80 Teas. My name is Sharon and I work for the UK Tea and Infusions Association. Today we are going to visit two countries. We'll be talking about chai tea from India and Teh tarik from Malaysia with my co-hosts Will Battle and our guests CK Liew and Joydeep Phukan. I would also like to mention that we are filming this podcast episode in the Tea History Collection in Banbury. If you want to find out more, go to teahistory.co.uk. So let me introduce our guests. Today we have CK Liew from Malaysia. CK joined the family business KWF Tea Merchants in 1988 as the fourth generation, and since then has been masterminding the tea business set up by his great-grandfather back in 1928. CK initiated the establishment of the Asian Tea Organization and was voted as their president in 2020. He is also the Malaysian representative for the FAO Intergovernmental Group on Tea since 2017. In 2020, he was voted as one of the top 100 excellent Chinese teamen by the Chinese Teamen Friendship Association. He has been active in the committee ever since then and has made concerted efforts to promote tea culture, encourage interaction, cooperation, and the development of tea trade within Malaysia and abroad. He has been a key driver of the Piala TTAM Teh tarik competition, which I hope he'll tell us more about in the podcast. And to our second guest, Joydeep Phukan, who is the Secretary and Principal Officer of the Tea Research Association of India, popularly known as TRA Toklai, which looks at the R&D needs of the Indian tea industry. He is the focal point for the FAO Intergovernmental Group on Tea for India and played a key role in establishing the UN International Tea Day, which now takes place on the 21st of May every year. Joydeep has been elected as the Secretary of Trust Tea Sustainable Foundation. He is associated with various committees of the Indian tea industry, and he's also a member of the core group on tea of FICCI, a premier body of the Indian tea industry. Joydeep has 22 years of experience in various capacities in the Indian tea industry and 4 years in the field of finance, and he is based at Calcutta. And my co-host, Will Battle of Fine Tea Merchants, a UK-based tea wholesaler with over 25 years experience in the tea industry. He's also the author of the World Tea Encyclopedia. Will, CK, Joydeep, welcome to this episode of Around the World in 80 Teas. So today we're talking about chai tea and Teh tarik. Joydeep, can we come to you first? How important is the street vendor culture in India?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to the show. You see, the street tea vendor in India plays a big role in the out-of-home consumption of the out-of-home life of an Indian. So once people move out, so they have like right from the beginning when they start their day. So after their morning walk and morning run, they have a cup of tea. And then during breakfast, a lot of people have people who are outside, they have tea from the tea stalls. Then during lunch also, the people have teas. So it's a day-long affair with the street tea vendor, which is there. And it's like, I would say, it's a temporary meeting place for many people who work who are daily wage earners, who are running taxis, who are drivers, who are like salespeople, marketing people. So for them, it's a very much an integral part of their daily life, without which they can't do it. So it's very much within the DNA of every Indian to be visiting a tea stall, actually.
So, Joydeep, what proportion of Indian tea do you think is consumed on the street?
Yeah, you see, that's an interesting question because the tea industry always falters in statistics, but I think we're better off now because the Tea Board of India did a study in 2018 through Deloitte, which is a consulting company, and they came out with very good figures. Like So the base consumption of tea, which is like retained in India, is about 1100 million kilos of tea, which is there, out of which Deloitte has segmented into two parts. One is the in-home consumption, which is 75%, and the out-of-home consumption, which is 25%. So out of this 25% out-of-home consumption, further segmentation has been done. So roughly about 150 to 160 million kilos of tea are consumed through the street vendors, which is about 14 to 15% of the total Indian tea consumption. Like another 60 million kilos are consumed in offices, both private offices and government offices, and another 60 million in the HoReCa segment, like which is the hotels, restaurants, and cafe. So roughly about, say, between 150 to 160 million kilos of tea are consumed through this or sold through these street vendors.
That's a really serious amount of tea.
Yes.
And what would one expect to pay for a typical cup of street tea in India?
Yeah, so you see, if you see, like there are different cups actually. So this is a smaller cup, which I have taken the clay cup. So this would cost about 5 rupees, which is about 6 cents in dollar terms. And there is a bigger cup, the clay cup, which is there. This would hold about, say, about 30 ml of tea. This would cost about, this is 10 rupees in the Indian rupee terms, which is about 10 cents. So these are the most common teas which are sold in the tea stalls which we have in India. But mostly, these are sold in plastic cups or maybe paper cups. But there is a strong like momentum towards graduating into more environment-friendly cups.
And Joydeep, can you tell us the recipe for the tea that people drink, and does that vary across the country?
Yeah, you see, basically, most of the teas which are consumed in India through the street stalls which are there is like, it is tea which is made in boiling milk, actually. So the milk is boiled first, and then tea is kept in a soft cloth, which is put into which is cooked actually in the boiling milk. And after the adequate color or the optimum color is reached or achieved by the tea brewer, so then he takes out and he puts the sugar in it. And so that is the typical recipe which is there for the normal milk chai, which is consumed in a major way in India. Then there are other flavors which are there, like masala tea. So the masala tea has got different kind of spices which are added on. And then there are the ginger tea, which is there, which basically slices of ginger, which is put on milk and sugar, and then tea is made. You have got like one is the cardamom tea, which is there. So the soft cardamoms are put into the tea, and then those are also taken as this thing. Now of late, there's a lot of teas or chais becoming famous, which is called the kesar chai, which is basically made out of normal tea and milk and put saffron put in it. So that is some kind of a garnishing which is done on top of it. So these specialty teas are around 25 to 30 rupees actually for a medium cup of tea, which is, if you see in dollar terms, is about 35 to 40 cents. And what Sharon said that is regarding the recipe, more or less it is the same recipe for the street stall. But again, there is a strong demand for black liquor tea, which is there, and which is lemon added to it. So that is gaining a lot of popularity in the last maybe a decade or so, actually.
Is that for a health reason? People drinking more tea for health?
Basically, the lemon teas, people think that because if you have milk tea, too much of milk tea, if you like people they think to have gastritis problems, so they feel that the lemon tea is lighter on the palate, and then so it is easier to have more cups of tea. So this is which is like proliferating in the street chai stalls as well as in the offices also actually here.
We've got a sort of Banbury interpretation of the street recipe, which I'm going to serve Sharon now, Joydeep. So if you'll bear with us, I'll just pour. We've got some clay cups straight from Calcutta. So there you go, Sharon.
Thank you. That's so delicious. I just love the spices in there. They're really delicious. And it's interesting, Joydeep, chai tea is becoming really popular here in the UK. You can get it in a lot of the out-of-home outlets. But I have to say this tastes better. I wonder if it's the clay cup.
Yeah, there's something about the whole experience, isn't there, with the clay cup. So tell us about the cups, Joydeep. What's the story with these? Am I right in saying it's a kulhad?
Yeah, it's in different parts of the country. It is called in different names, but it's kulhar. Like kulhar is is prominently known as kulhar. In Calcutta, like in West Bengal, it is known as bhar. In fact, you see, so which is bhar, bhar. In North India, it's called the mitti ka cup, like you see, which is clay cups. So of course, clay cups are not new to India. Actually, you see, it's like. Right from thousands of years, clay is being used for different potteries, and and people are having food items in clay cups, clay pots, and all. So when the tea promotion was started in India in the 1940s by the Imperial Tea Marketing Board. So it was during that time the promotion of tea was basically going together with the development of the CTC process, the cut, tear, and curl, the CTC teas, the granular small teas which we normally drink. So the CTC has got a strong, like the flavor or the liquor is much more stronger, and that gels well with goes well with milk. So the Indians immediately took on to taking tea in the clay cups, actually, in the 40s and 50s. And from then onwards, it has gained, like the clay cups has pushed tea consumption in India in a big way, actually. Plastic during that time. There was paper also was in short supply, or maybe paper was not used. So the technology was not there. So the easiest technology or the used and tested technology was the clay cups, and which was used till the 80s. Till the time the plastic and the paper cups proliferated. So what people feel about the clay cups is that, you see, when you pour tea into it, normally it's the milk chai which is poured into it. So the tea, as well as like some amount of tea is soaked by the clay cup, like you see, because since it wants water, or it wants liquid to absorb it. So some amount of tea is absorbed by the clay cup, and then you get the interaction, the flavors of the clay cup as well as the tea intermingles, and you have a different kind of the earthy feeling which is there. So that gives the real kind of punch which is famous for, actually. And there is a saying that, you see, you have to nibble the cup, like at the edge of the cup, to have more the earthy smell out of the clay cup, actually. So that's the people say that, you see, you get, if you want to have more of the earthy smell, you have to nibble the edge of the cup to have the earthy smell. But overall, I think it's a very good way of having tea. You connect directly with the nature. The soil which gives the tea plant the real character of its quality. So you really connect back to the soil, actually, see, through the clay cups. So I feel it's one of the most unique and beautiful ways of having the beverage.
When you finish your cup of tea, say you're in Calcutta, you've had a cup of your street tea on the street, and then what do you do with it afterwards?
When you have a cup of tea, then it is not reused. It is not either broken or kept. And what we have seen, that is, it is again crushed, and it mostly goes in for landfill kind of thing. Of course, if you see environmental impact of the whole the clay cups versus the plastic cups, it's a major difference which is there. In fact, I had done a small study actually. See, say 1 kg of plastic, which is a Tetra Pak, PET, polyurethane Tetra Pak, it gives you about 150 to 200 small cups actually. And the carbon footprint of 1 kg of plastic is basically 6 kgs, 6 kilograms of carbon footprint, which is there on by using that kind 1 kg of plastic. For making clay cups, you need 1 kg of clay, and then it gives you 60 cups, and the carbon footprint is 195 grams. So you look at the difference, 6 kgs versus 195 grams. So I feel that like it's environment friendly, and one needs to push for uses of clay cup. We're very glad that Government of India, our minister, in fact, you see, Mr. Piyush Goyal, who was the former railway minister, in January 2019, he has announced that the Indian Railways, which brings nearly about 23 million passengers travel on Indian Railways every day. So he has reduced that, you see, no plastics, no paper cups, only clay cups would be used. So that's a big push from the Government of India to popularize this cup again.
Yeah, my memory of sort of street scenes in Calcutta is of small mounds of these as they're sort of near the tea stalls. And it always strikes me as Calcutta's sort of little bit of a pothole problem. And these things, which, you know, that you can just crush into the dust they came from, it's just it's a perfect environmental solution to so many problems, isn't it? I think it's just a lovely way of reconnecting with the soil that the teas come from, or you know, or really just sort of also solving Calcutta's pothole problem. But I think it's really nice to see. How long does it take one of the makers of these to actually fashion one from clay?
I think these are like, for making one cup, it's I think within a minute he can make about maybe about 2 cups. That's what I have. Of course, I didn't count the exact time, but like you see, one can make about 2 cups per minute. If he's a fine craftsman, maybe he can make more. But like, I think about 2 cups per minute.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Joydeep. Shall we hop on a little journey and go over to Malaysia and bring in CK? CK, can you tell us what Teh tarik is?
Teh tarik or puti is tea with milk, and is one of the unique Malaysian culture that has transcended beyond race, culture, and religion, and play a very significant role in the daily lives of an ordinary Malaysian. It is so called because the action of pouring the tea with milk from one vessel to another, which appear to look as if the tea is being poured. In Malaysia, a Teh tarik session is an occasion for gathering with colleagues, friends, family members, irrespective of their race and religion, and is considered a common ground for Malaysians to come together, where they bond and share ups and downs in life. It provides a platform for the different races to interact.
I read, CK, that it can perhaps trace its origins to the Indian population in Malaysia. Is that true? Is there sort of somehow a link back to chai in India?
It could well be, because in the 19th century and early 20th century, there was an influx of Indian migrants to work in the then Malaya. However, I think Malaysian enhanced the pooling and the preparation and also popularized the drink.
And what does that pulling preparation process do to the flavour of the tea?
Well, the pouring preparation aerates the beverage and mixes the tea and milk thoroughly. The action makes it like and frothy instead of dense and heavy. The condensed milk creating the lusciously thick and silky smooth texture, making it a much creamier and richer drink.
And is it similar to the drinking of chai tea in India? You know, would Malaysians be drinking teh tarik throughout the day, or is there a certain consumption time within the day?
Yes, we drink teh tarik for breakfast, tea time, lunch, afternoon tea time, dinner, and we have a lot of 24 hours this restaurant opened by Indian Muslims. So it's practically 24 hours.
And is there a particular food you would eat with teh tarik?
Well, normally these restaurants serve roti canai, which is from India as well. Nasi lemak is a local dish with curry or fried noodle. In fact, it can be consumed with any food. A meal is complete with a glass of teh tarik.
I mentioned in your introduction, CK, that you were one of the instigators of this competition. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, our objective is to promote teh tarik so that more people can consume tea. So the Malaysia Tea Association started in 2014. We have organized 5 times the Battle of Teh Tarik, and because nowadays this Teh Tarik, the Teh Tarik is evolved into a performing art, and with the tea master preparing it along with the rhythm of the music, and even to the extent of choreographed stunt for showcasing the tea culture.
I think here in the UK we've perhaps got a lot to learn from both the examples that we've talked about today, from the chai tea in India and teh tarik in Malaysia, really making that out-of-home tea experience a bit more interesting, a bit more exciting, and introducing some theatre.
Yeah. CK, what would you typically use as the base for your teh tarik in Malaysia? Would it be a Malaysian tea itself?
Malaysia produces very little tea, about 3.6 million kg per year. We import more than 80%, almost 90% of the tea from the major tea producing countries. Right now, I'm importing from 17 countries at the moment. Oh. And then the teh tarik is using the tea and the locally produced condensed milk, which is specially formulated to produce the frothy and aroma.
My memory of, I've only ever had it a couple of times, but my memory is that it's got that beautiful, luscious viscosity to it. Perhaps the condensed milk is responsible for that. But the sort of the frothiness is you can't really get it anywhere else. I think that's sort of mix of Guinness and cappuccino.
Wow.
And I just think it's just really, really amazing drink. It's worth experiencing if one hasn't experienced it, because it's really unique, isn't it?
Another value additions which the tea street vendors or the chai walas are doing in the Indian streets is that, you see, they are like what CK said, is that, like, you see, it's becoming an art form. So like what is happening that in Calcutta and in various places, a lot of street vendors are trying with different high-end teas. Like you see, they're trying, like normally it is the tea with milk, and which is the most common variety which is there. But now certain varieties they are trying is that this is very high-end Assam Orthodox teas which are they are selling. Then the Darjeelings they are selling. So they are trying to push and trying to see whether people connect with those high-end teas. So I think that is an interesting experiment which they are some of them are doing. And the other thing is that, you see, there is a new phenomenon called the tandoori chai. In fact, you see, like normally it's in a clay cup only. Like normally it's a normal clay cup. It is tea is made and all, and then you have this tandoors, like you see, which is a big hot oven, coal-fired ovens where the chicken is roasted or the meats are roasted, So there the tea is put in there, and then there also with the clay cup that gets a different kind of a flavor, and then it's given out to the customer.
Yeah, I'll repeat. I think we've got a lot to learn from the innovation that's going on in tea drinking in other countries. I'd like to see some of that development here as well.
Of course, in UK, you don't have the typical tea stalls, which we have it here. But maybe like it'll be a good start off if people can, like, since the curries have taken over, like you see, like the curry restaurants and all, and the food joints are like in every nook and corner actually. So like maybe why not tea?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the environmental friendly credentials of the clay cups is something that will be really appealing to consumers here as well. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Joydeep. Thank you, CK, for joining us today on this episode of Around the World in 80 Teas. I think key messages that we've learned, that there's a lot of innovation going on in tea drinking around the world, and we could learn some lessons from that. And also, you mentioned at the start that tea fits throughout your day and it brings people together. And we keep hearing that message over and over again in these episodes. So thank you both so much for taking us on this journey. Really lovely to see you.
Thank you.